And we're live. Hello, hello. If you're looking for ways to get more from organic search, you're in the right place. Welcome to today's SEJ webinar. I'm excited for this conversation today around ways to build an effective search strategy without getting too technical. I've got Vincent here with me who's going to show you how to audit and prioritize optimizations using AI, how to scale those efforts, and how to monitor for performance because let's be real, that's how you're going to get more budget next year. So, with that, here to share this fantastic information is Vincent Moreau, SEO consultant at Botify. Vincent, did I get that last name right?
Yes, yes, very good. French pronunciation is on point. Hi, everyone.
Awesome, awesome. And this is your first SEJ webinar. Excited to have you here. So, where are you based out of?
I am in France, actually. I'm speaking to you from France. I'm a European by heart, and I've lived a couple years in North America as well.
Excellent. And then we also have Dan Reno. Dan, we've got you here just for a minute. I know you're going to be part of the Q&A, so he'll be answering some of your questions as you all put them in the Q&A. But real quick, let me do some housekeeping. First, use the chat. Let us know where you are coming in from. I am out of West Virginia if you haven't been to one of these before, so would love to see if I've got any other mountaineers in here. If you need closed captioning, it's the CC in the top right of your screen. Give that a click. We will have some polls for you today, so watch for those, a little engagement. And then we will have time with Vincent at the end to do Q&A. If you have questions, add them to the Q&A tab. If you see something that you like, you can give it a little thumbs up, and that'll let us know that that's more important to you all out there. And we'll do our best to try to front load those. Before you leave today's call, we do have a quick survey. It just lets us know how today's webinar went. We've got some handouts for you. I see people from UK, New Jersey, the Netherlands, Pakistan. I know it's late for some of you all, so appreciate you being here with us. And with that, Vincent, I'm going to close my mic and camera. Dan, I'm going to take you off stage with me. We got Catherine in the background if you all need some tech support. And here we go. Vincent, it's all yours.
That sounds good. Thank you very much, Heather. Hi, everyone. So as I've been presented already, but I'm going to do it a second time. I'm Vince, or Vincent, as you like it. I'm an SEO consultant at Botify. For those of you who may not know who Botify is an enterprise SEO and AI platform, and we are basically an advanced crawler. We do log analysis, crawl data, we do AI optimization, we do all sorts of fun stuff. You can check us out, and you can also get in touch with me. So today is going to be about how to build an SEO strategy that encompasses AI as well with limited resources. And I'm going to take a bit of a spin. We have a bit of ground to cover. I'm going to take a bit of a spin on the limited resources type of thing, because I don't want to tell you the stuff that you already know. So bear with me, and it's going to make sense eventually. So in terms of what we hear, if I manage to put the next slide up, in terms of what we hear day to day here at Botify, around the challenges that people face when they're responsible for search, whether they're an SEO practitioner like some of you, or whether they're a C-level, CMO, whatever, a traffic manager, is we group these into four basic challenges. The first one is we have no control over the website. We have a very complex approval process. We have a very busy dev team, and we're gonna dive into all of that a little bit later as well. We've got the two classic I don't know where to start, which is either I don't have any SEO experience and I'm tasked with SEO, or I have a little bit of SEO experience, but I don't have the bandwidth. Then third, we have too much to do, too few resources. That can be resources in the SEO or marketing team. It can be resources in the dev team as well. And the fourth thing, which is on everyone's mind at the moment, and we're going to touch on that first, is the change is happening too fast. And even if we had an idea of what to do, we're not sure it's going to be future-proof, basically, for the next 3, 6, 12 months. So first, I know this is about SEO strategy, but I had to include a part around demystifying AI search, because this is, oh, the voice is doubled, I'm hearing in chat. Heather, maybe.
It's not coming through that way on my
Okay,
end, Vince, so I think you're
Anna could
okay,
be
and
your own setup. Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, AI is on everyone's mind. It is also in everyone's words, and so I want to do a quick detour through AI search and what it might mean for the future, etc. Thanks, guys. It sounds good to you. Very good. So basically, as we all know, we are transitioning from what we'd call historically the 10 blue links on search engines results pages to a more conversational approach to search. And in the past, say, year, we've seen a lot of attempts at implementing AI in search. We've got AI overviews for folks who are not in France. It's not yet in France. We've got platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and all these AI models. And so change is happening real fast. And so I want to start with a quick poll, which is, do you guys know how many users ChatGPT has today weekly? How many weekly users do you think ChatGPT has? And for those of you who need a little bit of a clue, we're going to run this for like 30 seconds or so. For those of you who need a bit of a clue, I can give you the November 2024 figure, which was 260 million monthly users. So based on that data, do you guys know how many weekly users? Okay, so a lot of you, about 60% of you, are vastly underestimating, it seems, results. I mean, number of weekly users. So the answer, it keeps asking me to submit my own answer. Right, cool. So the answer is 800 million weekly users. And as I said earlier, this is up from 260 million monthly users in November, which means adoption is growing, and it's growing fast at an exponential rate. So how does this work, right? How does that new AI search work? The traditional search funnel is what you've got on screen right now. Your pages have to be crawled, they have to be rendered, then they can be indexed, and then they can rank and convert. So that means pages that are not crawled or not indexed, sometimes not rendered, are not going to be able to rank. Well, for AI crawlers, it's about the same, except we don't have that rendering step, because we know right now that these AI bots do not render JavaScript. I'm not going to get too technical on that front. But what I want you to remember from this is that all that is happening right now for AI search is based roughly on the same architecture, at least when it comes to information retrieval. It's based on the same architecture as traditional search. So let's keep going into LLMs and ChatGPT-like platforms and trying to understand how they work. So as you know, AI search relies on LLMs, and LLMs are large language models. They are statistical models. They basically are very good at, given a specific context, predicting the next possible word that's going to come up in a phrase. When these models first came out, and when they gained public exposure, like with ChatGPT, a couple of, was it a year and a half ago? This is how they work. The user asks a questions or inputs a prompt, and then the LLM uses that statistical model based on its training data to answer the question. So that answer at that time was based on very static data. So if you asked it something about information in the last 2 months, 3 months, it wouldn't answer. There were two problems. First, the freshness of data, and second was that they would hallucinate, which means they would basically make stuff up. So the solution, so that's the illustration, yes, that if you can also ask ChatGPT or any large language model what their cutoff date for training data is, and they will tell you. But right now, in 2025, they will also tell you that they can look something up for you. And this is the solution that people came with to fix these two issues. What what's called as retrieval augmented generation, which we call RAG. And the idea is that instead of only relying on that static data, when a user inputs a prompt, the model's going to reformulate the prompt, look up its index, look up an index, and then go fetch, retrieve data live, retrieve information live. And it's then going to use that information that it's retrieved live to produce its answer. What that means is that those models are now much more powerful because they can access basically the entire web. And this is what's really interesting for us as professionals in AI search, because when you look at static data, we don't have many ways to not manipulate it, but impact it. But with RAG, because it's web and it's live data, we have a lot of ways that we can use. And those ways are through crawlers, which is a technology that we know all too well. So second poll, guys, do you know right now, you personally, how often ChatGPT is crawling your site? It could be ChatGPT or OpenAI or any of these AI bots. Do you have an idea? Are you able right now to tell me, yes, Vince, I know that ChatGPT is coming X number of times on my site per day, per week, per month? Or I have no idea, or I can ask my engineering team. While I'll let you guys answer the poll, I see a question in chat from Fernando saying AI modes renders JS, correct? Yes, this is my understanding of it. It's still very new. We're going to talk about AI mode later. Google has said that its RAG bot, which is Google User Agent, which is Google Extended, does render JS. It's not the case for the vast majority of other crawlers that we know of so far. And as you guys know, that can change. So in terms of knowing how much ChatGPT is crawling your site, I say 80% of you right now are saying, I do not track it. And so if you do not track these things, you have a huge blind spot, because that means that you do not know whether your site is accessible to bots, to these AI bots. You do not know how much they're coming, if they're coming at all. And you do not know whether you're showing up in these platforms. And this is really, really important. I'm not going to go too much into detail. We can go through that in the Q&A. I'm not going to go too much into detail about measurement of basically AI search platforms visibility, which is, we could do a webinar around that. But know that not tracking it is a huge blind spot. So this is our own data, Botify data, aggregated client data. And this is, you're looking at the OpenAI bots traffic over time on our clients' servers. And what you can see here is, as adoption grows, crawls grow as well. This is crawl data, okay? So what that means is, we had a long period where crawls were basically static. And now that adoption is growing, we've got the number of crawls growing as well, which means that if you're not concerned about that stuff right now, you should very well be, because it's going to be an issue not only for us SEO practitioners, but it's also going to be an issue on infrastructure costs as well, because it's increasing the number of hits in your server and potentially impacting your infrastructure costs. Matt asks in chat, does ChatGPT and other LLMs use a separate user agent for RAG? Yes, they do. ChatGPT has ChatGPT user, Perplexity as Perplexity user, and I don't remember the one for Claude, but yes, they do each have their own RAG user agents. So what that means is that basically, if you are not getting crawled by OpenAI bots at the moment, yeah, sorry, Dan, I bet you to the answer. If you're not getting crawled by OpenAI at the moment, you're missing a chance to be part of the conversation. You see here 2 screenshots. One is best espresso machine under $200, very standard Google search. And then on the right, you see a ChatGPT shopping answer with roughly the same query. And you can see that ChatGPT is offering products. If these brands or these reseller website, if you're a brand and you have resellers, it becomes, that competition between you and your resellers is getting worse every day. if these brands or resellers are not getting crawled, they will not show up in those answer engines or AI search platforms, as you want to call them. So remember this, crawls are even more important than before. They used to be important for Google, but we knew that Google was crawling basically all websites. It's not the case for these AI platforms. Okay, so what can we take away from this very brief AI search presentation? First, that you should optimize for all platforms. This is not a Google-only game. That ship has sailed. Yes, Google still has the majority of the market share, and it's fighting against ChatGPT with AI model, all that stuff. But adoption of AI platforms is growing and growing and growing. The second thing is you need to monitor that bot traffic. If you do not have a way right now, if you do not have a dashboard with ChatGPT traffic, with ChatGPT crawls, if you do not have that information, then you basically have a huge blind spot. And consumers are using these platforms. We see it day in, day out with our clients. They are getting revenue from these platforms, from these channels. Third thing is obviously stay informed. You're here at SEJ. That's great. That's one way to stay informed. We also have our blog if you want to check it with a lot of info around AI and latest releases. And the fourth thing that I have to see, and it's a little bit counterintuitive because I'm the guy speaking into a microphone right now, is don't believe too much hype. A lot of people out there are talking about this stuff and they don't really know what they're talking about. They're trying to sell you snake oil. And so you have to be able to differentiate people with actual knowledge and people who lack that fundamental knowledge. I see a lot of questions popping up. I'll let Dan answer these. Okay, so we've got the AI stuff out of the way, guys. Now let's talk about building a strategy. And I want to take this from the angle that I see from our clients who either do not use our consulting services, did not use our consulting services previously, or are using other agencies and partners. Most of them are not lacking lists of tasks. Most of them are lacking vision and strategy. And I want to take the angle today. I want to tell you about selling SEO at your company. I mean, getting buy-in, getting resources from the do more with less angle. I want to tell you about stories. And I think that's a fundamental part of SEO that people often neglect, and that's costing them budget, resources, and ultimately results. The thing that you have to understand is people love stories. We're all humans. Whatever stories are about, we love them. We love them in all their forms. We love jokes. We love books. We love movies, etc. And stories empower four things. They empower decision accelerations because everyone's busy and everyone needs to make quick decisions. And when you've got a coherent narrative, you can get people from point A to point B and you can get them to the decision that you want faster. They enable memory retention because if you tell a story, people remember it. They enable emotional connection, context, and meaning because when you tell a story, people feel emotionally engaged and they're in the analytical side on the side, so to speak. And they simplify everything. And this is a big part as well because SEO is very complex. Getting buy-in from SEO is very complex as well. But if we're able to simplify it through a story, then people will buy in much more easily. So what's the first part of any story, guys? The first part is the plot. So the first thing that you want to do when you want to build a strategy is you first have to understand context because strategy is about getting from point A to point B. And so you have to understand how your company is performing. Are you a leader? Are you an underdog? How is it performing in the context of the industry? Are we doing better or worse than our competitors? What are our overall strengths and weaknesses? Where does SEO fit in all of that? What's our current website performance? Who are we fighting? What did we do so far and what has worked or not worked? This will set the stage for your story and for your strategy, right? If you do not have answers to these questions, you need to pay more attention in company meetings because you probably already have that information, but you're probably already discarding it because you think it's of no value to you. And if it is of value to your stakeholders in your exec level, it is of value to you because you need to convince these people for more budget, more resources, more bandwidth, whatever. Okay. If you don't have answers about your current website performance, you can use AI tools. I'm showing you a screenshot of our intelligence platform called Botify Intelligence. It basically takes crawl data and it tells you what's wrong with your site, how to prioritize it. If you already have SEO experience, you do not need that. If you don't have SEO experience or time, this can be a life-changing thing. So the first thing, which you have that very general context in mind, is to audit your website's current performance. The first part of this is a technical audit. And the technical audit for all our non-SEO friends out here is all about understanding whether bots can access the site, whether they can access all of the site, and whether they see stuff that we don't want them to see. So I've got a few questions for you here to reference. These are not the only questions, but stuff like, what do I want Googles and bots to see? Are they seeing everything that I want them to see? Are they seeing stuff that they shouldn't see? Can I improve my website architecture? Should I block or remove parts of the site? All these things that technical SEOs talk about all the time, no index tags, canonical tags, redirections, redirect chains, all these things, they all relate to how bots interact with your website. So these are all the questions you need answered on the technical side. And this is still part of the context, guys. Everyone tells you this is the first step of the strategy, but everyone fails to mention what I'm going to tell you next. The second part of it is your content audit. Once I understand how bots can interact with my website and whether that is what I want, I can ask questions around, once they do access the website, can they understand what they see? So is my content structured correctly? Is my keyword targeting on point? Am I publishing content around what people actually want? Are there gaps in my keyword or intent strategy? Are competitors doing stuff that we're not doing? How am I performing? Etc., etc. So once you've got all these things, you've got the business context on one hand, and then on the other hand, you've got problems with your website. You should have, by the end of this, you should have a list of stuff to fix. And as SEOs, we know that these lists of stuff to fix can be very, very, very long. So a list of stuff to fix, and I'm going to say that a lot of times today, a list of stuff to fix, of things to fix, is not a strategy. It is a list of tasks, and it's not the same thing. And when you think about all these things, remember, assess your situation across all platforms. Don't only think about Google, because this time is over now. This is a percentage of crawl activity by basically categories of bots. And you can see here that the week of January 6th, we've got only half of crawls coming from Google. The rest is from Bing, 20-something%, and then 25% here on this specific example come from AI bots. If you cannot track this, you have a huge blind spot. If you do not get interested in AI and AI search platforms and how your brand is showing up and what you're doing to improve, you have a huge blind spot. Right. Once we've got that business context out of the way, we've got the issues with a website, then we need to understand stuff about AI at our company. It's new for everyone, this stuff, okay? So you need to go around your organization. The fact that it's new, before I jump ahead, the fact that it's new means two things. One is everyone has the same question. And a really good news for you is you can be the person to answer these questions. So you can be the champion of AI. You can take responsibility for these topics. And we see it with our clients. For some clients, the marketing and SEO teams are taking responsibility and pushing AI within their organization, and they get the champion status. For other companies, it's the dev team or the IT team looking at AI, and they look at it very differently. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying if you miss the opportunity to take responsibility here and push the topic within your organization, it's a missed opportunity. So try and get answers to these questions. Why do I need my website to be found by bots? It seems like a dumb question, but we've seen very big companies who block all AI bots currently through robots.txt or server side. Do I want AI models to train on my content? Is that an interesting thing for us? Which content do I want models to look at or not look at? Do I want AI search to find my newest content, or am I happy with it having historical data? Usually the answer is yes, I want it to find my content. And which content should the AI bots see first? Because the underlying context for all of this is AI platforms and their crawlers have way less crawl budgets. They have way less resources available to crawl because they're much smaller. So they won't be able to crawl everything on all websites. So it's our job to direct them to the right type of information. So these are all questions you need an answer for. And this is still in the context, guys. We're not talking about building the strategy. We need all that information before we start building something that is not a task list. And then the last thing is identifying new opportunities, because once you have all this information, you'll see where the gaps are. You'll see the questions that you do not have the answer to. You'll see the questions that you did not ask. So by looking for answers to all these questions, you will uncover new opportunities to improve and include in your strategy. Right, so that was the context part of it. The second part of the story, if you think about a murder story, is we've got the context and we've got the destination. Someone's been killed, and we know that at the end of the book or at the end of the movie, we'll know who the killer is. Otherwise, it's a really lousy story. So for us, the big question we need answered here is, what does success look like? And that question you need to ask both internally, what does success look like to me, to my manager, to the C-level? But you should also make sure that your vendors understand this. If you're working with an agency, you're working with a partner, you're working with a software vendor, they need to understand what success looks like for you. Because for some companies, they're attacking. They want to conquer new markets. They want to expand internationally. That's very different from a very well-established brand who is very happy just defending and preserving their existing traffic. And this is going to be very different when it comes to strategy as well. The destination should be tied to your company objectives, to your industry, and to the project that you have short, medium, and long term. Maybe you're an e-com site, or a marketplace, you're incorporating, you're launching new brands, new resellers. Maybe you are an e-com site, you're launching new products. Maybe you're migrating domains in 6 months. Maybe you're migrating CMSs. Maybe you just bought another company and you need to integrate the content from their website to your website. All these situations, they need to be in your strategy. So I put 2 examples here of what a nice success story would be. Like, we need to migrate from Shopify to Salesforce in Q3 with less than 20% traffic loss. If we have that information, we can use it to build a strategy that's going to be compelling at every level. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, we have the context of where we are with all the stuff that we have to fix, and we have where we want to be ideally. And so now it's time to build a roadmap, which is going to be, how do we get from that point A, or in your, because my camera is reversed, it's mirrored, from point A to point B. How are we going to do that? And that's the toughest thing, guys. But if you have the answer to all these other questions, this is going to come much easier, and I'm going to show you. So you need to think about how you're going to get from that point A to point B. What's important in the list of stuff that you found that need fixing? What's really important to get you to your destination? Because maybe you're in a car, you're going on a journey, and your car's a little dirty and you need to clean it. That's fine. It should be done at some point. but it can certainly wait till you reach the destination. So that's not something that's worth doing right now. So this is how you need to approach things, because the list of stuff to do and the list of stuff to fix is endless. And this is where people get lost. And this is why I'm saying a task list, a list of tasks, is not a strategy, and SEO is not a checklist. So how are we going to achieve this? What should we prioritize? And how does it help the company achieve its greater objectives, right? Maybe your company's saying, we need to reach profitability. What does that say about the stuff that you have to fix? Should you really focus on all these, I don't know, links to 3XX pages? Is that the most important thing to do right now? Or should you maybe incorporate that new content from the new website that you bought? Should you buy a new website with a lot of content if your company has budget? Think about all these things, and you'll see that the method is ask the right answers, get the right questions, and then act on the answers that you got. The other way around. Ask the right questions, get the right answers, and act on these answers. And don't act out of what you want to do or what feels good or what SEO should be like best practices because you saw a guy who's very convincing on LinkedIn reposting an SEJ webinar. And that could be me. So don't listen to me when I post on LinkedIn. Listen to what's happening inside your organization and use your own judgment. What I like at this point is to regroup everything that I found that needs fixing, regroup that under what I call core pillars. And I put very straightforward pillars for you here that I sometimes use with my clients. So this is not to say this is too simple. It could be just that. But think about this. Put everything that has to do with technical health in one bucket. Put everything that has to do with defending or improving your existing content in another bucket. And that could be adding structured data to pages, for example. That would fall for me into existing content optimization. Optimizing page titles and meta descriptions, re-optimizing pages, merging pages, pruning content. All that stuff is into existing content. Then think about the new content optimizations that you have to do. Maybe that international expansion, you're going to launch new markets, new subfolders, and that's going to be into the new content, under the new content umbrella. And then a fourth pillar that needs to be included is obviously AI search readiness. And that would be obviously the governance, the tracking. It could be around JavaScript usage as well. Like, guys, up until now, our website wasn't too big and we're content with whatever JS we had. But right now, we are injecting all of our prices with JavaScript and we don't have structured data. So that means right now, AI bots do not see our prices, the prices of our products, right? That's an AI search readiness task for me. Once you've done all that, the prioritization becomes much more easier because you're breaking things down, right? And at the same time, again, I'm repeating myself, but this is very important. Align with your company objectives. And guys, if you're a freelancer, you're an SEO consultant, you're part of an agency, and you're listening to me, first of all, thank you. Align with your clients' objectives as well. Ask these questions. What do you guys have going on? What are your big projects? Where do you want to be in a year? What does success look like for you? And align with that, because that's how you get buy-in. That's how you renew contracts as well. So a few examples about what aligning with company objectives might be for website health, so technical health. Cleaning up the website, frame it as preparing for product releases, preparing for an upcoming migration, an upcoming PIM change, for example. About content optimization, defending our brand against resellers to preserve our margins and help our profitability efforts, right? It's one thing to say, we need to re-optimize these 10 priority pages because I decided they're priority to a stakeholder, and they're going to say, okay. It's another to say, I've selected these because these are pillar pages that we need to defend for our brand because we need to we need to hit profitability this year, right? And around AI search, for example, one way to frame it, and we're going to learn new ways, we're going to find new ways as we explore this together in the coming months. making sure we have first mover advantage and we're ready for all the new features, right? So we need a task force, or I need bandwidth, or we need to hire these guys, or we need to do a project or whatever, because this is moving fast. The stuff that you want is to be able to do more with what you have, or to have more to do what you need to do. And this is how you get it, guys. You do not get anything by talking to people for hours about canonical links. People don't like canonicals, right? Then, when building your roadmap, you've got everything that you wanted to fix. You've got it prioritized. You've got it aligned with your company objectives. Then, you've got it regrouped under pillars and aligned with your company objectives. Then you need to prioritize it by impact. So you already know all these questions. If you do not have SEO experience, you can use AI for this. But as you've seen so far, everything that I've said is about being tied to your specific experience. So don't trust AI too much, because AI is not going to know all about your specific experience. Wonder about these questions. Is it going to have a lot of impact, not a lot of impact, etc.? So all in all, you need a list of tasks. For each task, effort, impact, timeline, how much time it's going to take, and specific details, all in any form of document you like. Make sure to have a detailed timeline. Take into account, if you're working with sprints, take sprints. Migrations, maybe some stuff is better handled in H2 or Q1 next year, that kind of stuff. Group everything by objective, your core pillars, and summarize all this that we talked about in the deck. Where we are, where we want to be, how we're going to get there through these pillars. Don't talk to people about canonicals and indexing problems and crawl waste and all that stuff unless they're technical people and they want to hear about that stuff. All the other people, talk to them about how everything you're doing is contributing to the overall company objectives. So as I've said a number of times, without a story, your strategy is a task list, it's a to-do list, and we do not want that. Another way to look at this is the difference here. You've got it on the left and right. I'll let you guys read. The difference is really about the context that you provide for everything that you do. What you want ultimately, if you present something, is for people to leave a meeting being able to tell someone in a few sentences to tell what you do to someone else. So the last thing you want is for someone to say, "Oh, what? By the way, an executive meeting. By the way, what are we doing about SEO? Is this moving forward?" And people go like, "Yeah, I think the guys are cleaning up some links, and we had canonic moles or something. Like, I don't remember. Like, they're doing work for sure." That's different from having done the work and someone saying, so they're cleaning up the website because we've got that whole migration project. So the website's going to be cleaned up. Like, that's what they're working on these days. People love this. So do this, guys. And you've got a few examples in here. So the final product should look something like this, which is, and this is an anonymized version of a client, bucket, task. I even added a subcategory here, priority, when we're going to do it, some details, who owns the thing, what kind of task is it, blah, blah, blah. You can use a spreadsheet, you can use ClickUp, Monday, Airtable, whatever you guys like. The thing is, you have to structure that information, and you have to, yes, Fernando, I said canonic moles. I do a very good impressions of execs. So, okay, now it's all about executing that roadmap. And this is where the do more with less usually is a huge issue. For us, we've got two main reasons why projects fails. First is, I don't have the bandwidth or I don't have the knowledge. Well, you've seen that if you frame everything as I've done here, and if you don't have SEO knowledge and you need to use some automated tools, that's fine. You will be able to at least defend your opinion that you need more bandwidth or you need more resources in a way that appeals to stakeholders, right? Imagine a world in which people go into a migration without hiring an SEO agency, and you look it up and you see that it's bad. If you frame it as, guys, we're making a big mistake, people will listen, right? If you talk to them about redirection plans, they will not listen. I mean, every time I tried it, people didn't listen to me because no one likes these things. And the second problem, which we're going to dive deeper into, is optimizations being stuck in the engineering backlog. So first thing I said already is showing the side of the prize. Make sure that you are actually framing things correctly. And also, if you plan on hiring externally, make sure that you find a partner that's going to do stuff, because sometimes it costs you more in your own bandwidth to actually handle these guys on a day-to-day basis. Then we jump into the full backlog thing, where we see that engineering teams have a lot on their plates, and as SEOs or traffic managers or whoever, we have critical issues that we want tackled, and we need to fix that issue. So Botify is really, really aware of that issue, and we created a product that's called PageWorkers. So what that product does is it uses a JS script that allows you to change anything in the HTML, basically, on any page or website. So you craft optimizations in Botify and you deploy them without having to go through the dev team. And that could be redirections, no index, that could be canonicals, that could be optimizing page titles, H1s, whatever you can think of that's in HTML, we can do it. Adding link blocks, blah, blah, blah. That's a very good way, using these kinds of tools, to basically not go through dev, at least at first. I've got an optimization example here where we're using Smart Content, which is basically a solution that takes your crawl data, allows you to filter subset of pages from your crawl data, and generate new titles and new meta descriptions for them, and then push that directly live on the website through PageWorkers. And so you can end up optimizing thousands of pages in a matter of hours. And if you do that and you focus on template level optimizations, PDPs, PLPs, you follow your prioritization, and you use AI like we have in Botify to identify these optimizations, you're going to cut your work in. I was going to say half, but it's not even half. It's more than that. And even if you only use it as a proof of concept, then once you know that it works, then you can go secure resources. How do you know that it works? You do split testing, which the tool allows you to do too. So for example, here you're looking at the results of optimizations that we conducted in the client website, and you see that clicks and impressions are going up dramatically. So it's much easier now for us to go to the dev team or to the stakeholders with a business case. Look, guys, if we do this on all our pages, we've got plus 40% clicks. And if you present it that way, I can assure you, no one's going to say, no, please close the door in the way out. So we've got the tech right now, and you've got the tech at your hands, at your disposal as well, to use AI to analyze the website and come up with prioritization. Use Gen AI to craft content, or at least subset of content like titles and descriptions at scale, and then automate the deployment of these things, right? That's an example of what we call an agentic workflow, where you're using these AI tools and these agents to to do your work for you, basically. And so once you've managed to do all of that stuff, you've created your story, presented it, you got your resources, you executed, and now you're at destination. You're 6 months in, 12 months in, and it's time to reflect. As you know, traditional SEO and AI search, it's all about iteration. So you just need to look back on what you've done, determine whether you met your goals or not, and adjust and do it all over again. So how do you know whether you've met your goals or not? You need to measure. You've got an example here of the Botify funnel that's available in Botify Analytics. That tells you on the left how many pages were crawled by Botify. Out of these pages, how many were crawled by Google, how many are indexed, how many rank, how many visits that drives to your website, and how many converts and how much organic revenue you're getting. Because we present that data, we can do a snapshot last year and this year, and we can see last year we only had 42 pages or 35K pages crawled by Google. Now we're up 10% and revenue's up 5%. And everyone's happy about you, and you secure more resources. So that's the stuff that everyone wants to see: traffic KPIs, revenue KPIs. But on the day-to-day basis, you need to be able to know, whether you met your own goals. And that's by looking at relevant data for each and every one of the tasks. For example, you were dealing with canonicals. How did that evolve within the past 6 months? Or the number of 404s that you got on your website? Do you have more or do you have less than before? In Botify, you can look at crawl over crawl data. You can see we display trends of your latest data points to tell you whether you're doing a good or a bad job and whether you're meeting your goals. And that's really, really important, because you'll be able to report for yourself or your team on a day-to-day, weekly, monthly basis, and to the execs on a quarterly and bi-quarterly basis as well. And that's really important to do more with what you already have, because that's how you secure more budgets. So if you want to do more with less, you need to use the right tools. And if you want to get more resources, you need to have the right story. And so you need that story, your roadmap, your strategy needs to evolve based on changes in the industry, changes in your company, et cetera, et cetera. So some key takeaways to wrap it up, and then questions if we have time. You need to prove effectiveness of whatever you're doing as fast as possible, because that's how you get buy-in from people. You need to speak everyone's language, because you need to be able to go to the dev team and go to the execs and go to the SEO team and talk with everyone, because we have a function in the organization that's very specific. We interact with a lot of teams. You need to be equipped with the right tool set as well. If you can't look at AA bots data right now, you're screwed. If you can't look at crawl over crawl data and you have a big website, you're screwed. If you're trying to crawl a 2 million URLs website with Screaming Frog, you're screwed as well. And you need to iterate, and iterate again. And I need to say it one last time. You need to get your story straight. This is the stuff that you're probably missing at the moment. And if you look at what I've done throughout this webinar and this presentation, I did the exact thing that I preach. I started somewhere with the problems and I ended up with the solution. I gave you the story to get there. All of this stuff you can get from our AI search playbook, which is called Be Found Everywhere. It's got lots of insights on AI search platforms, the state of AI, what we're expecting, etc. It's in the handouts section, and you can download it for yourself at the end of this webinar. And yeah, you can find me, you can find us, obviously, as well. And that's it for me today. I'm open to questions if we have time, Heather. I was a bit long.
That's okay. That's okay. It was all good stuff. We do have some questions, and I made a promise to you that I wouldn't put up any super long questions, Vince, but they're all really long. These people want to know, they want answers. So I know Dan's in there answering some of them. So let's see. Let's take this one from, oh, not that button. Alazab. How can brands effectively balance AI generation content with human editorial oversight to maintain EEAT given Google's evolving search algorithms?
This is a tough question. I'm not sure I have the answer to that. I'd say AI generated content is fine. I think I'm going to be very Google sales spokesperson-y on this one, but I think, and Google in its latest AI mode guidelines has reiterated that. I think the most important thing is your content aligned with what people want to know? And an example that I use a lot of the time to help people understand what helpful content is that when your garage door is broken at 8 a.m. in the morning and you cannot open it and you need to get to work, the garage door manual becomes the most helpful content you have lying around. So it's not about how fancy the content is, how much search volume it has. It's more about, is my content aligned with what people want to see and what people need at the moment? So think about it, in my opinion, more as, does my content help solve a specific problem, rather than, Is it okay to have it AI generated? Yes, it is okay to have it AI generated. Is it okay to have ChatGPT write 200 articles from one 2-sentence prompt and then bulk upload these on WordPress? I don't think so. Is it okay to use AI to build helpful content? I think it does. And I wouldn't really worry about anything else, basically. But that's really me. Other people would differ, I guess.
So Carlene asks, when can we track AI overviews and Botify? Is that on your roadmap? And I saw a couple other people kind of asking similar questions.
Yes. So Botify does not scrape SERPs. So we do not do keyword tracking. And that's basically how tracking AI overviews work at the moment. That's why SEMrush and Ahrefs give you AI overviews tracking. That's fairly consistent. So I don't think that is in the roadmap for Botify, unfortunately. It could be. It could be if things evolved or if we get access to other data. What I can tell you, though, is that we are building an AI visibility dashboard that would reference LLM visibility, log data, and traffic data from GA. So that's on the roadmap for sure. And that's going to help a lot of people, I think.
Excellent. Question from JR. Since clicks on links are currently the primary way organic traffic is measured for websites, how will organic traffic be tracked and measured in an AI-driven environment, especially when users may receive direct answers from AI without ever clicking through to the website?
Yes, so that's the reason why I didn't include measurement in my webinar, and I'm happy to come back for a second round. So basically, right now, what you want to do is not impossible, but really hard to do. Basically, we have 3 ways of measuring LLM traffic or LLM visibility. The first one is crawl data. We can know, because of RAG, we can know when ChatGPT hits your website or hits a specific page. We have that data available, and we can extrapolate. That wouldn't be 100% true, but we can extrapolate that when ChatGPT user comes to your website, you get an impression in an LLM in ChatGPT, basically. Then you can cross-reference that with the traffic that you get from GA, because the links in ChatGPT have a UTM source parameter. So ChatGPT tells you that ChatGPT is the referrer. By the way, AI overviews do not. For some reason, Google has decided, like, for right now, it's a no referrer attribute. In terms of knowing when you show up on someone's screen, we have no way of doing that. The only way that we have right now is scraping the results for specific prompts, which I don't want to get into that. I'm happy to do that offline, but it has its own problems and limitations, and it has a lot of limitations. Yeah, I'm not sure that answers the question. I'm rereading the question, but yeah, organic traffic will be tracked basically through logs and GA right now. And for the 0-click stuff, then I think we have to mourn our blessed clicks.
Alexander has a question. This is the last one we'll take. Probably, if anyone else has any questions, get them over and we'll send them to the team to answer afterwards. But Alexander asks, do you have any unique insights into trends and user engagement with AI across different niches? For example, I'm wondering, is it worth the squeeze for a mental health care company to invest in an AI strategy when most of our clients come from local search, referrals, and insurance providers?
So this is a really interesting question, and I'm going to answer diagonally. I think one of the main issues that we see in the way people analyze AI right now is that we are stuck in an SEO paradigm. So basically, if you look at content around AI search, people will interact with AI search by typing in keywords like best backpack for hiking or local psychiatrist or something. But this is actually not how people interact with AI search platforms. These platforms are way more conversational. And so people will give more context. First, because that's naturally how we interact with these platforms, but also because we will learn to realize that the more context we give, the better the output of the model. So in terms of, is it worth it for a mental health care company to invest in it? I would say think about whether people how people interact. You say they come from local search. What kind of keywords do they use right now? And what kind of other ways can people find you? So can people find you by saying stuff like to ChatGPT? And we know that people do that. They go like, oh, I've been feeling this and that, and I have anxiety, and I'm having trouble going to bed, and whatever. And then ChatGPT goes like, oh, you should see a doctor. And then the person goes like, oh, are there doctors near me? Do you want to be there in that situation or not? And do you want to be part of that conversation? In my opinion, it's a no-brainer, because I think that's how these platforms are meant to be used, and that's how people are going to use them. And so I think it would be very, very worth it, especially because we are probably going into an era where we'll have hyper-personalization. Google has already said with AI mode that you can plug in your Gmail data. And so when it gives you a restaurant, it's going to take your other restaurants you've been to into context. When you ask it for a trip, it's going to know where you've been previously, etc., and what you like and what you don't like. And so we could get into a world where ChatGPT, and that's a bit scary for me too, but ChatGPT or AI mode or whatever know about your mental health precedents or something, and then suggest you see a doctor. And then when that happens, do you want to be part of that conversation? So it's we're looking into the future here. I do think it's worth it, at least to do a risks and opportunities assessment. Like, think about this stuff in a very non-emotional, analytical way, and think about how you as a user would interact with your service, your content, etc.
I think that's a great response. All right, we're going to take this last question. Oh, from Madeline. Catherine, you just took it. Where did you put that? She just asked, hold on. Okay, so Madeline asked, I think it's a great question, and just your opinion, your last opinion, and then we'll close out. Do you think LLMs like ChatGPT will ever release their data in terms of search queries, impressions, like Google Console or Bing Webmaster?
That is a great question. I am wondering that myself. I personally do not see a short-term world in which that exists. Just for the fact that it's much harder to track than web-based, in my opinion. And in order for them to release that information the way Google Search Console does it, they would have to kind of give you the context of the prompts. And we're getting deep into privacy, data privacy, basically. And so the question becomes, once you know that because people seem to be relatively okay with the fact that ChatGPT is keeping all that information for itself. What happens the moment people realize that it's actually giving it away? And I think that's a question I don't have the answer to, and I think that's a huge risk for them if they do that. So maybe they will find a way to do that. What I think is possible is that we get into a situation where we have other metrics. Like I just said, we shouldn't look at everything through an SEO paradigm. So we shouldn't think of them as necessarily clicks or impressions. They could be other types of metrics that we don't know yet that we'll be able to track or that they will release. There are many ways, like Max is saying, that you could definitely do citations. Yes, they kind of already do that through ChatGPT user crawls. Like, you already get access to that data. They could release that saying, we visited your page and you've been used as a source that many times. Like, that's a type of another metric. It wouldn't be called impressions. It would be called citation or sources or whatever. So we could discover new stuff and come up with new stuff to measure this.
People thought they left citations back in college. All right. Here we go. That's it. That's what we're at time. I'm going to throw your contact slide up here Well, quick. So Vince, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your information. Anything that you want to leave the people with?
No, I think I've made one point very clear, and I think that's really what's missing for most SEOs around there and most marketing teams. I would encourage you, if you do have questions that were not answered, you want to start a conversation, hit me up or hit us up with the links on page. If you did not know Botify, check us out. And I was happy to be here. Thanks to everyone who stayed that late. Thanks to the European folks who came listen to me speak for too long. And if you need anything, we're here basically.
Awesome. This was great, Vince. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for today's webinar. Stick around for that survey. Let us know how it went. And if you're not already subscribed to our newsletter, go to searchenginejournal.com/subscribe so you can get updated on the next webinars, educational material, or news that we have coming out. With that, it's the end of my plug. Vince, we'll see you later. Thanks so much for being here.
And thanks
everybody.
for the support. Bye-bye.